Cuba, it's me! Welcome to episode 84 of The Willie Show, which stands for Wrestling is Life. Life is Wrestling. Now, today I wanted to talk about, is it okay to brag? When I was a kid, I used to be very good at everything. And I used to brag, and my mom would say, don't brag, it's not polite. But I was like, but look what I did. Shouldn't I be able to brag? So now in wrestling, I guess life in general, but in wrestling, should you brag or should you not? I find it's a fine line you're really walking. You want to put it out there what you've done, but you don't want to be constantly. I mean, it's great to have confidence. You need to have confidence in your ability, and you should be proud of the things you've accomplished. But you gotta toe the line, so to speak. You can't overdo it. Now, everyone wants everyone to get to praise them, and it feels really good. Like whenever I do a show, I stay up till 2 in the morning hoping someone will say on social media somewhere, oh, did you see that Cuba did this, or did you see his match, or he had a good match? And it makes me so happy. But sometimes people don't get around to do that. And like the whole reason I started the show is like, you know what? If people aren't going to give me credit, I'm going to take it. You know, you got to be proud of what you've done, and if no one else is doing it for you, you got to step up and say, hey, look, I've done some stuff. But I mean, I try not to talk about myself too much on this show, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I do like my top 10 matches list or stuff like that, right? And I put myself over a little bit. I try not to overdo it, but you gotta. You're never gonna please everyone. If you say all the stuff that you get that is great, then people are gonna be like, "Oh, look at him thinking he's so great." But shouldn't you? If you don't think you're great, why are you even doing it? So it's really tough, and you want everyone else to do it for you. It's so much easier that way. If everyone else is just praising you, then you can just be like, yeah, that's right, that's right. But if people aren't doing it, you should be. Like, if you had a great match, you should be able to say, hey, I had a great match. If you did something amazing, you got booked on a new promotion that you really wanted to, or wrestled against someone and you weren't sure if you could compete at their level and you were proud of yourself, you should be able to do that. But if you do it too much, then people get sick and annoyed with it. Like, I'm the same way. I love people to have confidence, but as soon as they got on Facebook and Twitter saying how great their match was, then I'm like, oh, be quiet, you. I don't want to hear about how great you think you are. But then when they don't do it, I'm like, why don't they put themselves over? So I don't think you can ever please everybody in that regards, but you gotta put your stuff out there. Give yourself credit. Do something. Put together a highlight video reel of some of your best moves. Share your favorite matches online. It's better when other people do it for you, but it's not always gonna happen. Like, there's some matches I'm really proud of that I know they got filmed, and no one put them on YouTube, and then it's easy, you just share it and say, oh, check out my match. But as soon as you upload it and say, look at the match, I filmed it, here, everyone watch it, then it's like, oh, he's just trying to put himself over. Like, you never please everybody. I know I said that a couple of times. So what's my answer? Is it okay to brag? I think it is, but you can't overdo it. You can't constantly, and you can't constantly be bragging, and you can't like over brag where you're like saying you're better than you actually are. Like, it's okay to humbly brag, but you shouldn't be like, oh, I just wrestled a 5-star match, or I wrestled the match of the year. Like, it's all subjective, and maybe some people thought it was the match of the year. Like, so it's better when other people say that and then you just like retweet it, or you just say, hey, look what someone said about my match. But I mean, who am I to say? Everybody else has different opinions. So what do you like? If you're a fan of a wrestler, do you want him constantly putting stuff on social media saying, oh, I'm the best in the world, I wrestled the best match, I wrestled the match of the year, no one's as good as me? Do you like to hear that stuff? Do you like when they share stuff about how they feel about themselves? Or like, hey, check out my match. Do you like that? Or do you like them to just be humble and sit back and wait for it to be brought to them? So that's a good question. And for wrestlers, what is your take on it? Do you think we should be able to say everything that we did good? Or do you think you should not say anything about yourself and just be totally under the radar? Or should, like I was saying before, should you do it in moderation? Because, I mean, I've heard the saying, everything is good in moderation. So I'd really like to know people's opinion on this. But as far as I know, as far as you're not overdoing it, I would say brag away. Brag away, because life is too short. And you never know, like, this may be your chance. If people see that you have that confidence, and also if you believe in yourself, it's easier for other people to believe it. Because if you're like constantly putting yourself down, like I know when I first started my career, if I messed up one move, and even if it was something that the fans wouldn't notice, but like my trainer would notice or my opponent would notice, oh, he did this just a slight step wrong to the left or something, I'd beat myself up. I'd want to be perfect, and I'd be so hard on myself, and I would be like, I'm embarrassed of that match because I made one mistake. Now I'm like, you know what? You're gonna make mistakes every match. You're never gonna have. Maybe once you may have a perfect match, maybe, but then no one else is gonna think it's a perfect match. But it's gonna be a perfect match in your mind. So I think you don't want to be too hard on yourself, but you don't want to be too overly nice to yourself. Like, don't make yourself seem better than you are. But yes, if you don't believe in yourself, no one is going to. So that's my thought for the day. I just wanted to talk about bragging a little bit here on The Willow Show, episode 84. I'm your host, Elian Habanero. I love wrestling. Cuba!